Hey guys, Karibo Rose here, and today we have a ABC deck profile. This is an update. Last time I did the ABC deck profile was before the ban list, so possibly before Christmas. Actually, no, I'm not too sure, but it was before the ban list anyway. Last time around we were playing the Yugioh engine. This time I've sacked it off because I don't particularly like it that much, and we're now playing a more interruption-based deck. It's sort of built off the deck that came top 32 at YCS Atlanta. I can't remember the guy's name, but I'll post a link to that deck profile in the description. So it's very similar to that, but obviously with a few changes here and there. So I'll show you the deck profile and what we play and the reasonings for it. Firstly, we play 2 copies of A Assault Court, 3 copies of B Buster Drake, and 2 copies of C Crush Wyvern. So obviously they all float. When A is sent to the graveyard, you get to add back A, B or C from the graveyard to your hand. Well, it's actually any Light Machine Union monster, but this deck only plays A, B and C, so you can only add back A, B or C. When B is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can search an A, B or C from your deck. And when C is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to special summon an A, B or C from your hand. And now they all have different effects while equipped to monsters. So if A is equipped to B or C become unaffected by monster effects. If B is equipped to A or C, that monster becomes unaffected by spell cards, and if C is equipped to B or A, that monster becomes unaffected by trap cards. Next we play 3 copies of Gold and 3 copies of Silver Gadget. Obviously these 2 cards float into one another when they're destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard. Also, when these cards are special summoned, you get to special summon a level 4 or lower a level 4 or lower machine type monster from your hand. However, you cannot use both effects in the same turn, so you have to plan out you have to plan your plays out and choose which effects you're going to use. Next, we play 2 copies of Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre, and 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Now, I like to play 2, 2, and 2 in this build because quite often you'll make Bujin Tsukiyomi the Xyz monster. You'll discard your hand, which is usually only 1 card to draw 2. Now, when you're drawing into 2 cards, I really don't like to see the same hand trap twice unless it's Effect Veiler, because Effect Veiler is not limited to being once per turn, whereas Ogre and Snow are. So, Ogre and Snow. Ogre and Ash Blossom are. So, that's my reason behind it. I have seen people just playing 3 Ogre, 3 Ash. It's personal preference, really. Feel free to do what you want. Next, we play 3 copies of Union Hanger, best card in the deck. So, when this card is activated, you get to add an A, B, or C from your deck to your hand. And when you normal or special summon an A, B, or C to your side of the field, you can equip an A, B, or C from your deck to that monster. However, you cannot equip the same monster to this card that's summoned, so you can't equip B to B or C to C and A to A. Next, play 3 copies of Terraforming to quickly, hopefully, see Union Hanger. Hopefully, this card will not get hit on the ban list because it will really hurt my scrub decks. 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone because it's more interruption. Pay 1,000 life points, banish an opponent's spell or trap card. 2 copies of Pop Desires because deck thinning is deck winning and drawing cards is great. Now, you do need to play this card a bit conservatively in this deck. So you want to try and avoid playing it if you haven't got an A, B and C in play, because you only play 2 copies of A and C and it's easy to banish 2 copies, and if you do that then you can't play Yu-Gi-Oh! 1 copy of Monster Reborn because Monster Reborn is fantastic and can also bring back ABC Buster Dragon. Next we play 10 trap cards. We play 3 TT because most of the cards in this deck float, so you've got the gadgets which float into each other, you've got A, B and C which all float in some degree, so they can either add, special summon or search. We then play 3 copies of Solemn Strike because negating your opponent's summons of monsters is fantastic if they're special summoned. So obviously it's not this card's not great against True Draco unless you're going to chain it to when they activate their monster's effect to add cards. But it's really good against stuff like Pendulum when they summon out Electromite. Next we play the other 2 cards in the Solemn Brigade. We play 1 Warning and 1 Judgment because they're available, so you do play them. It's literally that simple. They're powerful trap cards. 1 copy of Skill Drain because you can use Buster Dragon's effect while Skill Drain is on the field. So in your opponent's turn, you can discard his cost to target a card in the field to banish, and then obviously they'll get a response. Then if they don't respond, you can tag out, or even if they do respond, you can also tag out. And then as ABC Buster Dragon resolves off field, you will also still banish your opponent's target and then bring back A, B and C to your side of the field. And then the last card we play in the main deck is Imperial Order. Now this is a really good card, however it can damage you. So obviously if you activate this, you're going to shut down your opponent's use to use spell cards. However, you are going to hurt yourself in some degree if you haven't already got an ABC Dragon Buster play lined up, because Union Hanger will become inactive. So play this card tactically and don't just rush into it. So that's the 40 card main deck. Put that to one side, and then we'll quickly go over the extra deck. So with it being an ABC deck profile, we play 3 copies of ABC Dragon Buster. As I was saying before, during either player's turn, you can discard 1 card to target a card on the field and banish it. And then during your opponent's turn, you can tag this card out to special summon A, B, and C from your banished pile to your side of the field. Onto the rank 4s, we play Abyss Dweller, because Abyss Dweller is really good in this format for stopping cards like True Dracos from accessing their effects in the graveyard. 1 copy of Tsukuyomi, as I was saying before, you quite often make this card. You can sometimes just make this turn 1 with maybe 2 or 3 set cards, and then you'll have A, B, and C in your graveyard to make Buster Dragon next turn. 1 copy of Diamond Direwolf. He's really good in this deck because he can destroy cards on the field, and he removes himself from the extra deck zone, the extra monster zone. So you can then use that zone to bring out ABC Buster Dragon. 1 copy of Castell because he's more spot removal. Tornado Dragon to get rid of pesky back row, and then the Utopia and Utopia Lightning. Now, I don't play Baguska in this deck because I just don't particularly like it that much, but you could always take out cards, maybe even Castell to play Baguska if you really wanted to. So now we'll go on to the Link monsters. We play 2 copies of Underclock Taker. I have seen some decks playing Akashic Magician. Now, I don't actually own one of them, but if you really wanted to, you could play Akashic Magician as a alternative to a second Underclock Taker. Play 1 copy of Decode Talker. This is my favourite Link monster. I just love being able to use his effect to tribute an A, B, or C that he points to negate a card effect and destroy it, and then get the effect of A, B, or C, depending on which one you've tributed. Onto the Link 4s, we play 1 copy of Skuldred Yugioh, because he is relatively easy to summon in this deck. If you tag out in the end phase and summon out A, B, and C, and then summon a gadget, you can make this card go +1 and then bring out an ABC Dragon Buster to one of the pointed zones. And last but not least, we play the 1 copy of Bobolo Dragon. So obviously this card can't be targeted, and you can take your opponent's monsters in the battle phase and stops your opponent from just doing stuff. He's a really good card, and I love using him in the mirror match to take my opponent's pieces, so they then can't make ABC Dragon Buster. So as we say, 15 cards in the extra deck and 14 in the main deck. Thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.